Hey guys, welcome to Stop Losing Women. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. And today we are going to be talking about the 7 things that I learned as a virgin that will get you laid. And so, for those that don't know my story, I was a virgin until I was 23 on purpose. Like I was legitimately trying to wait until I was married to actually hook up with a girl for the first time. Obviously, that did not happen, but I learned some interesting things during that time that I found later made me very successful with regards to connecting with women in ways that a lot of guys that are, I'll say, more eager and desperate, like aren't able to fathom. And so I figured it would be a good idea to go over some of those things for you guys to help you out. Before we get to that, though, that's the main topic of the show. We're going to go over a few comments that were left on my YouTube channel under some other videos. And I want to go over a couple of topics that I also think will prove beneficial to you guys and your dating journey. And by the way, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. And if you need any kind of one-on-one help coaching with your dating life to help you get on track, you can always go to stoplosingwomen.com and you can sign up for one-on-one coaching, as well as checking out the various programs and ebooks that I have available at that website. All right. So, and of course, the show is about you guys. So in the course of this thing, if you have any dating questions that you'd like answered during the show, you can type them into the chat and I'll be more than happy to get to your questions. All right. So I want to start out though. There are a couple of comments that were left under some of my more previous videos. And so this first guy, he left a comment under a video I did probably a couple of years ago at this point, called 5 Reasons to Beware of Dating Women with No Female Friends. I wholeheartedly believe that if you're seeing somebody that is always like, I just have guy friends, I don't have female friends at all, that is a problem for reasons that I went into in that video that I'll probably touch on here. But this guy said, that's a great video. As a 45-year-old male, I can say this is totally spot on. Every woman, even women who are kind of trashy, will still have a decent social circle of women. All of the women I've known who had very few or zero female friends always had serious issues. They always kept these less than average dorky guys around because they got the validation of a male while knowing full well they'd never have to hop in bed with that guy. Do not be that guy. I wholeheartedly believe that. And as a guy back in his teens and his late teens, early 20s, like I had a plethora of women friends, some of who I wanted to get with, but I just thought, oh, if I stick around long enough, it's whatever. And so some of those women would be like, yeah, I don't really have a lot of female friends because the excuses they'll give is that, females can be chatty and be gossipy and they always cause drama. And let me be clear, some of that can actually be true. But I have found that more often than not, usually it's that woman in particular that's causing the drama, whether she has emotional irregularities or she's just difficult to deal with. Now, when I did that video, I was coming from the perspective of a guy that was still still out there dating and stuff like that. But it's interesting being married and also having a group of female friends still, because most of my female friends are married. And so it's interesting, seeing my now wife come into the picture and be able to instantly make friends with all of them. Like I took her to a couple of events where my other female friends were there with their husbands, and she just go off and start talking to them. And now they have a whole phone chat group that they have on their phone that I'm not privy to. It's just all the wives and girls have a female chat. They plan events together. They hang out, and we've had them over my house at times where my wife is hosting stuff. And so it's really interesting to see like, oh, like there are women that can actually get along with other women. And when they do that, it's usually with other women that also have enough emotional regularity to be able to also be in that circle. Because ideally, traditionally women came from the position of being the ones that were more social and were the ones that would plan events and connect with other wives. And that's really how it should be. So if you're with somebody that is difficult, because I've also been with women who at times, it's not that they were difficult around other women, but they'd get easily jealous, or they would question like, well, why do you want to hang out with these people over here and whatever? And it just made it a lot harder in the long run to be with that kind of woman, especially again, as a guy that grew up and had a lot of female friends. It was like, I haven't slept with any of them. They're not trying to sleep with me. I'm not trying to get rid of them. So, but I would always bring the girls I was dating in and say, hey, get to know all these people. Like I need you to be able to hit them up at any time, hang out with them without me. And ideally, you'd be able to do that. But here's the thing also, is that women that can't get along with other women, the reason that's really a big red flag is because as the more social beings, women should be able to be around other women and be able to talk with them in ways that's going to help create opportunities for you. Like if a woman's talking to another woman, for example, that is married or has a boyfriend, it should be easy for them to be like, oh, well, so and so, we should get our husbands together and they could work on business together, or they have the same interest or whatever. And it's just, you find the energy of women that don't have female friends typically leans more masculine, and you're not trying to have around masculine energy. Those are women that don't have female friends, are women that don't know how to speak more gentle, don't know how to be able to express themselves in a way that gets their point across, but is not off-putting, is not putting you down. And I just found a lot of women that don't have female friends, you find quickly like, oh, it's because they're the problem. So I'm glad this guy was able to point that out and not just have me sounding crazy, because that really is the thing. So I just wanted to answer that comment. Let's see. There was another comment that was left under a video, and this is a question. So this guy left a comment that was a question under one of my videos, and his comment said, me and this girl already hooked up, but we text every day, yet we aren't dating exclusively. I've heard the dating advice that texting a woman every day, you can be too available, which causes contempt, but that it's also okay to catch feelings from, and he learned that from this guy named Mr. Lucario. Love his stuff, by the way. I'm struggling with the balance. What is your advice? So he's convoluting two different things here. On the one hand, he's saying, I've heard I can be too available, but it's also okay to catch feelings. You can have feelings for a woman and also not be so available at the start of dating. Here's the thing. As guys, we typically try to rush into things so quickly, and we don't give ourselves time to sit and contemplate and feel if the person we just spent time with is somebody that's actually we're spending a lot of time with. And so therefore, we just assume that they're already great. We catch feelings really quickly, and then we have all these conflicting questions in our head. So let's go through his question, okay? He says that he's heard the dating advice that texting a woman every day, you can be too available, which causes contempt. Well, no, it doesn't cause contempt. What texting a woman every day does is takes the mystery out of how much you're feeling for her. You would think that would not be a bad thing. As many men have learned, you texting too much in the beginning causes women to feel forced to have to talk to you. Like it's not their choice. This is why, and guys believe this thing of like, well, texting should be 50-50. Like for every time I reach out, she should reach out. The reality is, as I've always said on the show, you should be doing a third of the work that you're doing now. And like for every 3 times she reaches out, you reach out 1 time. For every 3 times she says, I love you, you say it 1 time. And it's because women don't need us to be so direct in order to feel things from us. They're already going to be looking at our body language and social cues and actions and reading into that. So picture you ask a woman on a date, right? So she's already going to know based on you asking her out that there's a level of like there. That is enough effort for her to run with to know you probably like her, versus you're asking her on a date, you're calling her beautiful throughout the entire date. At the end of the date, you're saying, I want to see you again. You're going home and texting her every single day. That's like 5 or 6 different things you're doing now to try to show effort that to her is going to read as overwhelmed. Because again, you do 1 thing, she's going to read 3 times into that. You do 5 things, it's going to read 15 times into that. And so that's why texting every day tends to eventually start to turn women off. And I'm gonna get into that a little bit later with one of the other things I'm covering. But suffice to say that that's what it is. It's not about the fact that they're getting contemptuous. It's that you're doing too much. It's overwhelmed. You're not leaving any mystery. You're not leaving any time for her to sit with herself and decide that she's feeling things for you and decide she wants to see more of you. And that's where it causes burnout. Now, the other party says, he said this other coach, Mr. Lucario, said it's okay to catch feelings. I and other coaches have never said it's not okay for you to like a woman. Like ideally, you're getting with women because you do like them. Aside from just wanting to hook up with them, you also legitimately feel things and you want to get with them. The problem again is that men feel things very early and then just want to straight up give boyfriend energy to a woman that has not earned that yet. And women are very good at, but that guy needs to earn my time and attention. I need to spend time with that guy before I just let him know every single thing about me. And so they're going at a slower pace, and then they're wondering why it seems like we've already figured them out. And it's because you're doing things like trying to tell feelings early on, trying to tell her, I already care about you so much, and I want to give you the world and all sorts of things. Nobody's telling you to do that. So early on in the dating process, it's okay for you to feel things, but you have to also have the understanding that just because you're feeling a lot of things, it doesn't mean that you've done enough of an audit on her to have all those feelings justified. So what you should be doing as a guy saying after 1 or 2 dates, oh my God, I feel like she could be the one. But just because I feel that doesn't mean it's accurate yet. And I need to spend more time with her to see if the revelation I'm having about her being the one is actually true, or if she's going to do some action within the next 2 or 3 months that's going to make me realize this isn't it. For example, for me, I know there were women that I dated that was like, I would think after 1 or 2 dates, oh, this could be the one. And then on like date 4, they're saying they want kids and pets, 2 things that I don't want. Or suddenly I see them talking about a story about how they used to get abused, but that they used to also do the abusing. That's a problem, but I wouldn't have known that on date 1 or 2 when everybody's on their best behavior. So you got to understand that just because you think you're catching feelings doesn't mean that your feelings are justified enough yet in terms of picking her as the right person. But it's totally fine to feel things. You just have to know you need to go at it a bit slower. And I get why men struggle with that, because in an attempt to try to be honest with women, we think, oh my God, if I'm feeling all these things and I hold back on her, that's me lying to her. And it's not. You holding back on telling all these feelings is you understanding that feelings aren't always facts, and that what you feel today could change depending on if you have more information. So it's totally fine to be like, okay, it's date 2. I'm already feeling all the things, but I need to wait until date 8 just to make sure that this feeling is consistent based on the action she's showing, which hopefully will also be consistent. So hopefully that causes less confusion about what that should mean. And like I said, guys, the show is all about you. So if you have any questions, you can leave your question in the chat and I will happily get to your dating question. All right. Had a few things I saw this week that I wanted to give answers to. So this first one I actually saw today, and this is a guy that is having a problem because he wants to dump his fiance, but doesn't know how to do it. So he says, I've been with my fiance for 5 years. We've been engaged basically the entire time. Long story. So this is probably a guy that he already knew she was the one and just rushed into, okay, so I'm already going to it's only been 4 months, but I already know that she's the one I'm going to get engaged to her. I'm guessing that's how that story probably went. He says, it's my first relationship. Oh, so there we go. So he's very not experienced in the flow of a relationship. So he just assumed, well, I want to be with her. I don't want to act like I'm playing games. So I just propose now because I already see this is where it's going to go, and that'll make her happy. And as you'll see, it does not. But anyway, he says, it's my first relationship that's ever been this serious. But about 2 years ago, things stopped being good. I love her. I really do love her so much. We planned a whole life and future together, and we were really excited for her. But she doesn't treat me very well at all. She's really mean. Everyone I know who has seen or heard about our relationship tells me I need to leave her. I know objectively I need to leave her. I'm miserable. She's miserable. We were supposed to get married in June, and we're supposed to move to a new city together in July, and I just know it's not a good idea. Well, if he's already indicating that she knows that they shouldn't be together, and he knows that they shouldn't be together, then it really shouldn't be that difficult. Like, it'd be different if it was like he wanted things to end, but she looked like she was really happy and vibrant and really wanted to be with him. I could see how that would be a struggle. I don't quite understand how it's a struggle when he's saying clearly both of us are miserable, but I digress. He says, after a lot of introspection, I know objectively I need to end it. But every time I think about ending it, I just want to cry because I love her and I love the life we wanted to build together. I don't know how to let go, especially because she's explicitly told me she's never going to break up with me, quote, no matter how miserable she is. So I know I need to be the one to end it. Well, here's the thing. Women don't like looking like the bad guy. And so oftentimes they'll do things in hopes that you'll be the one to take the reins and make the decision, whether it's leaving, getting married, going places, etc. So what she said is exactly right, because she doesn't want to seem like the bad guy, but that also proves true for him, which we'll get to in a minute. So he says, it's so hard to let go of the idea that we could be happy together if maybe we tried a bit harder, even though we've been trying harder for several years at this point and it hasn't been working. So I'm coming from the perspective of a guy that was actually in this guy's situation. But years before I was married, I was dating another woman. We dated for 4 years, and then we got engaged, and then we were engaged for another year and a half before I decided to break it off. And what happened was very simple, is that I started to realize there were certain differences we had that, if you're just trying to like be long-term boyfriend and girlfriend, certain things aren't going to matter. But if you're legitimately thinking about doing something long-term with the person, then certain things are going to come into play that if you are smart and you're seeing where things could go, you're going to realize certain things just aren't going to work in terms of keeping together a long-term relationship. Like, you got to think beyond just the day-to-day and thinking about today and how, things are crappy today, but tomorrow they might be better. You got to look at 5 or 10 years down the line. Is the way that this person is acting, is the things that this person wants going to clash long-term with things that I want? And is that going to cause more turmoil down the road? Because again, you're looking at try to spend 5 to 10 years. And then if you know that, you're also thinking, okay, is this a big enough thing to where if we get married, there's a high chance we're going to get divorced? And if so, do I want to now go through that process? Do I want to go through losing money, having to go to court, having to sign a bunch of documents, having to see this person in a more contentious light? And the reality is you don't. Like, I have one of my best friends who's now deceased, I saw him go through a divorce when I first moved to California. It was like a 2-year process of having to fly across the country to go to court things and deal with child support and dealing with visitation rights and having to pay all this money and get lawyers and stuff. It is not fun. So I get, but all that said, I went through this and I understand what he's feeling. Here's what he's actually feeling. Most guys, especially if they're good guys and guys that don't want to be mean to women, your ego is partially set up to not do anything contentious that could possibly make that happen. And so what this guy's going through is understanding that he has to be the one to bring to her this idea of like, we should not be together. We need to break off the engagement. And that is if you're a nice guy who doesn't want to be mean, is a hard process because your ego is wrapped up in, I don't do things to hurt people. And breaking off an engagement is definitely going to hurt her feelings. It's going to definitely make certain people in her life and possibly in your life see you as the bad guy. It's going to potentially bring on this thing of like, well, what did you do? And why didn't you work hard? Because a lot of those things get put onto men, even if both people were responsible for not making this work. Like, well, you should have worked harder and you could have gone to therapy and done all the things. And even if you did all of that, people will still say you should have tried harder. And so again, our egos don't want to handle that mess. We don't want to deal with the idea that we can be looked upon in a negative light. And also, just being real, the better you get at being less afraid about relationships and having to stick with things, you're going to find that you as the guy are going to start doing more breakups with women, and it's going to suck every time. Like, I went from being a person that got dumped to a person that could dump, and I had a lot more sympathy for women afterwards because rejection is hard. Rejection is hard if you saw a future with that person and saw and envisioned that you would always do right by them, and then now it's like you have to be the one to come to them and do something that's going to them feel like you're doing the wrong thing. Like, that's a hard thing to deal with, and unfortunately, it kind of comes with the job. Like, as you get more confident in yourself and your ability to find other women if the one you're currently with doesn't work out, part of that's going to be recognizing, oh, this woman actually isn't what this situation is not what it's cracked up to be, and now I got to break it off. And it's never going to get easy. Like, even a woman that was calling you names and going behind your back and saying stuff to you, saying stuff about your family to you and all this other stuff, it doesn't get easy to do breakups. Okay, but understand that that's the thing that as you practice at it, for better, for worse, you're going to get better at not feeling so bad when you get rid of a situation that's not serving either person. Doesn't mean that it makes it feel better. It just means you get better at it. But you can't let this idea of I'm a nice guy, I don't hurt people's feelings, keep you in bad situations, because whether you do it now or 10 years from now, it's going to happen. That person that you think now isn't the best for you, but you're trying to make it work, is not going to be the best for you 10 years from now, except now you've got kids involved, you've got lawyers involved, and it's not a fun time. So, but I just wanted to give this guy an understanding of why it is he's feeling those things and say, hey, I've been where you at, but you still got to do it. Because I look at the fact that like I'm married now to the right person. And so that means that the person that I was like, it took me like 2 months of really like being in my head about breaking up with this person and breaking off the engagement before I finally did it. And it's like, now in hindsight, that was a wise decision because it led me to move on to somebody else who in the long term has been a great pick. So hopefully that helps you out. And like I said, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of this live, leave it in the chat. I'll be happy to get to your question. Okay, so we had another very interesting comment from a woman on here. So I wanted to go over this one because a lot of guys don't really understand where they go wrong early on in the dating process. And a lot of it comes down to you're showing a lot of effort and energy early on to the point where you're showing versions of it that make women feel like you're trying to rush them and also not respecting the pacing that they need in order to actually fall for you. And so I saw this and this is a perfect example of that. So this woman, she's gone through a divorce and she's out there dating again for the first time, right? So she says, I had my first date post-divorce. Actually, my first date in over 20 years last night. So she was married for quite a while, got divorced. And so I imagine she was with her husband for 20 years. So now it's like, this is her first date in a long time, right? So she says the date itself went really well. It even ended with a kiss. The next day, we texted back and forth. And then evening time, he texted to let me know he's done with work and what am I up to? I let him know I'm making dinner and then going to watch a game. Silence. A little bit later, he texted, I was waiting to see if you'd want to watch it together. At this point, the game is already on. I'm at my house, sweats, no makeup, etc. I let him know I'm in for the night and wasn't going back out. He turns it into a whole thing, like it's a missed opportunity. We both were free. Did he read the date wrong the night before? I was nice, but let him know that no, he didn't read it wrong. I had a nice time, but don't really do last minute / spontaneity. I was in for the night, not sure what he didn't get. He still kept texting, trying to make me feel bad we didn't get together. Is this the norm with online dating and what I have to look forward to? Because yikes, it went from a nice date and I was looking forward to seeing him again to now I'm not sure I want to see him at all again. And then the update says, we texted today and I let him know the energy shifted for me after all the back and forth yesterday. He understood and now back to the apps for me, LOL. So this is a masterclass in how, because I've said on the show before, sometimes women are really, really like you, and then you'll do or say things that make women change their mind. And I've had guys fight me on that and say, well, no, she just had other guys in her DMs or she wasn't really attracted and blah, 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 blah. And here is a woman telling you from her own mouth, she was already set to want to see this guy again, had a good time. But what did he do this early on in the dating process that took him out of the running? Simple. He got too eager and was trying to do too much too soon. Let's go back through it. So had a good time on the date. He's already texting her the next day back and forth. Already a problem. What do I tell you guys? That you take a woman on a date, show her a great time, and then you leave her alone a minimum of 4 days. And this is not to play games. This is so she has time to sit with herself and analyze how she felt about the date, how she feels about you. Be able to feel that she misses you and is longing for you is going to be more effective than you just being in front of her face all the time with these texts. That's why you can go away. I have had times where I didn't text a woman for like a week, a month, couple of months, and when I hit them back up, they were eager to go out. Why? Because I gave them the space and it gave them time to miss me. Guys think it's a game, but it, unfortunately for you, is what women need in order to better justify in their head the feelings that they feel like they're having for you. And more importantly, they won't question those feelings because you're being patient, versus if you don't, they'll start to question, well, I mean, do I really like them? Because when you don't give them time to do that, it makes them question more the choices they're making with regards to being around you. So then they're having a conversation and he's like, hey, what are you up to? Because we got at the point he's like, I got off of work, what are you up to? I already knew what the guy was trying to do. He was trying to plan a last minute date. This is also why I am very much against guys trying to plan last minute dates early on in the dating process, because you're thinking, well, it's just, I already know I like her and she can just wear whatever. But this woman was already at home in sweats, no makeup on. And understand, part of the dating process for women and building attraction is actually the act of, oh my God, I'm gonna go see this guy. Let me put on the best stuff I can find. Let me put on the best makeup. Let me get my hair done. Let me get the right bra and stuff on. My titties are popping up out of my neck. Like, they want to do that because in their brain, it's like, if I'm putting forth all this effort, it must mean that I really like him. So I get you're trying to be the guy that's like Drake, like, oh, sweats and a t-shirt, you still look, that's when you look the finest. But you got to look at who you're trying to date. It's a woman who needs to go through the motions of trying to impress you. So she says in her head, I'm trying to impress this guy because I must like him. And so you can't discount that, and you can't try to push your way in because you're so desperate to see her that you want to see her regardless. Early on, she's not going to feel comfortable with you seeing her in her sweats, seeing her hair undone. All she's going to be thinking is, if he sees me this way this early on, he's not going to like me. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter what your reality is. Her reality is she's going to feel like you're going to see her as an ugly crow, and that you're going to compare her to other women you may be dating who are also putting out their A game. See, women are in competition with other women. So you can't look at, you're going to see her in her dressed down swag and be fine. You got to look at, but what is she thinking is going on with you? Ideally, she's thinking that she has competition. If you're a guy that's like, that she can tell, oh, he has no other girls that are after him, that's a problem. The feeling she should be getting is, oh, he has other options and I'm competing with those options. It sounds backwards to guys, but women like men that other women like. So even if she has no competition, she doesn't know that unless you do actions like this, where it's like, hey, so are you available right now? Well, I want to see you. Versus like, oh, her thinking, whoa, why isn't he contacting me? Could he be doing other things? Could he be on a date with somebody else? Oh, well, next time I see him, I got to dress up and do all the things. But he's showing desperation here, and desperation now looks like neediness, which looks like he doesn't get any women. And also he's trying to what? Force his agenda. How does he show that? Well, he says, you know, what are you up to? She's like, oh, I've made dinner. I'm going to watch a game. And then he boo-hoos later. Well, I thought you were going to invite me over. One, as guys, we hate when women assume things about us. So why would he just assume that she would invite him over? And again, it's too early in the dating process. She was telling him, hey, I'm watching a game and I'm doing a thing, because as far as she knew, this was just them having a conversation. At the point that he's like, well, you should have invited me over. Now it becomes a problem. And now that also means now they have to have serious text conversations about how he feels and how he wish he would have been invited over. And, oh, did our date last night mean nothing? Women aren't trying to have super serious conversations with you about anything early on, especially about your feelings and what this means for the relationship that's not quite there yet. So he did all these things, which, yeah, gave her the vibe of like, this isn't the same happy-go-lucky, charming vibe this guy had, where he seemed like he was very confident in himself. And now, the next day, he's looking like he's just all kinds of simping, and he's crying and whining about this and that. And this is why women do not rush into relationships. This is why even if a woman has a great time with you on a first date, she's not going to catch feelings so quickly, because she knows that the version of you that showed up on the date could be a whole ruse and be totally different from the guy she talks to next time. This is why it takes women 2 to 3 months of dating you to decide, okay, this guy's the one, because she needs to see consistency. The guy that she saw on the date is not the same guy that she's talking to on the text today, which is why she's now turned off by this guy. So guys, let this be a lesson to you. Do not plan surprise stuff early on, and do not be whining to women on the phone about, why can't you see me right now, and all this other stuff. And also, please stop texting so much, because as you can see, this is what ends up happening, is that you end up unintentionally doing things that make you look desperate. This guy's just thinking, I just wanted to see her. It shouldn't be a big deal if I text that. But it's a very big deal if you want to see her every day, because again, it's making her feel like it's not her decision. So let's stop doing this, and you'll have better results. If you need help with that, you can go to stoplosingwomen.com. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching. I would love to help you figure out how to be more confident in yourself and less annoying like this guy was, to where you are chasing women away and not understanding what's going on. Okay. One more topic before we get to the main event here. Like I said, guys, if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of this live, leave it in the chat. I'll be happy to get to you. Also, be sure to like this video. It helps with the algorithm, all that good stuff. So I wanted to cover this because this is a lot of the stuff has to do with the way you guys are texting, because guys, I'm telling you, texting is probably like one of the biggest mistakes you're making with regards to trying to attract women. And I need you to get better at doing it and not doing it at the same time. So this guy had a situation where basically this woman said that she's too busy to date and wants to be friends, yet she continues to stay on the dating apps. What's going on? So this guy said he's 24 and the woman is 22. And they both matched on Hinge. He says, her personality was amazing. I never met a woman like this, blah, blah, blah. I've been starstruck. Guys, please, please, please stop getting so starstruck by women when you first meet them. Because here's the thing. Their outer shell facade is going to have you believing she's the end all be all. Oh, she's got the figure that I wanted. She's got the lips I wanted. She sounds the way I wanted to, all sort of stuff. 2 to 3 months. I guarantee you most women in 2 to 3 months are going to show you a side of themselves that's going to make you think, oh, she is not it at all. So you have to learn to train your brain. And it's harder when you're younger. Hey, I'm in my 40s now. In my 20s, it was a lot harder to see a hot girl and think, okay, but I got to objectively be patient and see what this is really about before I just out and about like her, right? But you need to do that because otherwise you're going to trip over yourself and make all these mistakes with women that you could probably get if you weren't doing those mistakes. Like, it's fine to be dating a 10 out of 10. If you start worshiping the altar that she's at, you're never going to get that woman because she's not seeing herself as a 10 out of 10. She's seeing herself as an everyday, regular woman who, when she's not on a date, is at home in sweatpants with no makeup on, with pimples, bad breath. She's probably wearing like a wig or weave. Like, there's so many things that women are doing to up themselves to 10 status. And the fear that they have is that if you see them as too perfect, at the point that they take any of that stuff off, you're going to outright reject them, okay? So let's stop putting women on pedestals this high. I digress. So he saw this woman. He's been starstruck ever since. He says, we've only met twice, but talked for months due to how busy she was. Also, during those 2 months, she went home for 3 weeks, so I couldn't see her. Dates went amazing. She even kissed me at the end of the second date, which caught me off guard, but obviously I'm not opposed to it. You should be expecting that. By dates 2, you should be getting kissed by most women, or you should be going for the kiss. So that should not be a surprise. I know you're 24, so it was a surprise for a little bit for me too, but like, seriously, dude, you should be expecting a kiss. And if you're not, that says something more about your self-esteem and your inability to feel as though women will want to kiss you. Got to work on that. Anyway, he says, slowly, of course, as it neared the end, the text started to become less and less. What is it with all these guys that had the same story of, I was texting a woman nonstop and then she started petering off? Versus, if you would just not text so much in the first place, you would never have this issue. Like, I find, because I was limited in my texting, that women were more apt to reach out to me because I wasn't reaching out to them so much. This is why I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. If she's the one sending the majority of the text, she can't be rejecting your text or responding slowly to your text because you're not texting enough to where when she reaches out to you and you reach out back, she's likely to want to respond back right away because she doesn't know if she's going to hear from you again if she doesn't. And also, you should be using texting as a tool to get dates, not to build rapport with women. I keep saying this and I'm going to keep saying it. You don't build rapport through texting. You build rapport by scheduling dates and seeing them in person. The more texting you're doing in like on the apps and stuff like that, you are turning down them wanting to be attracted to you because it's less work to see you and spend time with you. All this extra spending time on the dating is on texting is only making her lose more and more attraction. So let's stop doing that. Anyway, as you see with this guy, suddenly she's texting less, and then boom, I get a text saying she's just too busy with life, but wants to remain in touch as friends and still see me. She gave me the choice to stay, and I said yes after giving it a few days to think about it. Well, that was stupid. I would have said, I'm in this to try to get to know you and hopefully lean it towards something that's more like a relationship. If that's not what you want, that's totally cool. I'm over here. If you change your mind, hit me up. But otherwise, nice knowing you. At the age of 24, you should not be trying to connect women to make more friends. Like, that's not a thing you should be doing. Unless you're like meeting perchance through other groups where you happen to meet a woman and then like by proxy, you met at a friendship group and now she's a friend. That's different from you're going on dating apps and now women are like, let's be friends. No, you don't owe them friendship. And it's a waste of your time because you should be spending that time meeting other women that would essentially date you. So he says, here's the kicker. She's still on Hinge, and I've seen her updated a few times. I'm not sure what to think. I know she truly is insanely busy and isn't lying about her scheduling, but to stay on dating apps, I don't know. I could use some honest opinions. So here's my honest thought about that, is that this is a situation where when women say that she's too busy to date, what she's actually saying is, based on how much you're texting me, I'm too busy to respond to all these texts all the time. And these texts seem to make you feel as though we're in a relationship. Since I can't respond back as often as you'd like me to, that must mean that it's unfair for me to keep trying to date you, because our version of dating right now is you text me all the time. And since I can't get back all the time, that's going to make you feel like I'm a lesser girlfriend. So I'm going to take myself out. So her saying that she's too busy to date, basically is saying, I'm too busy to text back all the time. And this is where guys run into a problem because, again, on the one hand, she's saying, I'm too busy to date, but she's still in the dating apps. What she's wanting to find is a guy that is fine, not texting her so much and only texting with regards to scheduling a date. Because the reality is this, and as the guy that has dated lawyers, doctors, teachers, if you're trying to date women that are any kind of like well-to-do, high-paying job, they're not looking to spend all day texting you because they don't have time to. Like, legitimately, what she's juggling right now is, I have my actual day job to do, but now part of my day has to be dedicated to texting this guy because he's going to feel some kind of way if I don't text him back all the time. Between these two things, this is a lot. And this one over here is at least getting me money. This one has stressed me the freak out. So I'm going to tell this guy I'm too busy now because of the two things. I need to be focusing during the daytime on my job that's paying me to be focused on them. And I would continue to see this guy if he were cool, just saying, hey, I know you got a busy week, but I was thinking this Thursday we could go out. What do you think? She can respond back, okay, great. And he can be like, great, I'll see you at this place at this time on this day. Talk to you soon. Have a good week. And here's the thing. Guys have gotten so trained to believe that if they're not in front of a woman's face all the time, that she's going to start losing interest. And they forget the old mantra of women have memories like elephants. They do not forget. They remember things way better than most guys do. So picture this. You text her on Monday and say, hey, let's have a date on Thursday. Do you think a woman that has high interest in you is going to forget that she has a date with you on Thursday? The answer is no, because women don't come along to guys that they find all that attractive on any given day. So when they find one that they have high interest in, you could plan a date 3 weeks to a month in advance, and she'll hit you up the day before. Hey, so do we still have our date? Why? Because she has high interest. And so guys are mixing up women needing to have the guy in front of their face all the time with disinterested women. Women that don't have a high interest, yeah, you got to hit them up on a regular basis because they're not going to remember you. But also, do you want to be dating those women? Like, women that aren't going to remember you after a couple of days, those women have other options going on or just don't find you all that interesting and they're not all that attracted to you. They might agree to go out with you if it's a slow Tuesday and know the guys in their DMs that they really want to date, if hit them up and they're like, well, I need a free meal. In which case, yeah, congratulations. She's going to go on a date with you if you're in front of her face all the time. But I have just personally found that when women have a high interest, they don't need that much of your attention. And you can actually turn them off, especially busy women that are making a lot of money. You try to hit them up during office hours, yeah, they're going to feel like this is way too much, but that doesn't mean they don't want to date. It just means they don't want to date you because you're taking up so much of their day trying to text them. So that's why she's still in the apps, because she wants a guy to come along that's like, he understands I have a schedule. And as a guy that's been in Hollywood for years, I get that, because I've been on sets with women that are like set wranglers and directors who are married, but their husbands are at home understanding, hey, she's directing a film. She's trying to deal with like background extras and talent on stage. If she doesn't text me back today, that could be a thing. She could be on set from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. I may not hear from her until 8 o'clock p.m., and I got to be cool with that. And guys that have a level of self-confidence and self-esteem about themselves will not take that personally. But when you as a guy start taking personally, well, I know she's at her job, but she still should be able to text me, you're going to lose out. Because the reality is, again, you don't need to be in front of a woman's face all the time in order for her to like you and to be attracted to you. But at the point that you're over texting them, yeah, you're going to lose those women because they're like, dude, I know that you exist. You're on my phone. And my thing is, as Boo Thing, hey, Boo Thing, we're already booed up. You don't need to like keep texting me nonstop and feeling whatever. So that's why that happened. So hopefully for you guys listening, it's not too late. And you'll learn that this is the way that it should be, where you're not trying to talk nonstop to a woman in order to get her attracted, because women that are busy don't have the time for that. Just saying. So again, about to get into the main topic. If you guys have anything you want me to cover or anything you guys have a question about, you can leave it in the chat and I'll be happy to get to your question after I go over the main topic we're about to get into, which is what I learned as a virgin that will get you laid. Let's get into it. So I grew up in a relatively religious household. And even though that was the case, like my parents, my mom wasn't like pressing that me and my brother had to stay virgins until we were married. But I read a lot of Christian books growing up that said, oh, women feel a certain way about if you're just all about sex and just trying to get them in the bed when they're not ready and blah, blah, blah. So me at the age of like 13 or 14 was just like, okay, well, I don't want women to feel weird around me, and I don't want them to think that I'm just trying to date them for sex. So I know I'll just wait until I'm married to hook up with anybody. That was the actual thought I had. So cut to, eventually I got 23. I realized, okay, this is all in my head. I'm ready to do some stuff. Let me do some stuff. But the years that I spent being a virgin, I found in hindsight actually proved very, very beneficial to me later on in my dating life, because I developed a high level of patience with regards to having to try to rush women quickly into the bedroom, trying to tell sexual jokes and all this other stuff, like stuff that actually ended up helping me in hindsight, like be more successful in my late 20s and 30s with regards to dating and hooking up and stuff like that. But there were other interesting things that I learned with regards to the way in which women responded and reacted to me that also proved very beneficial. And it's interesting because, as I got older, I would see guys in their 20s and 30s like struggling to try to get with women, talk to them, but more importantly, trying to like get them in the bedroom. Like if you go on Reddit on any given day and so many guys being like, well, we went out twice and this is net, and then I still wanted to hook up with her and she still won't do it. Or you'll hear women be like, we went on like a date. I went on a date with a guy and he's already trying to like touch me on dates and trying to like get me in the bedroom. This is net. And I, for the most part, didn't really have a lot of those issues, in part because of the 7 things I'm going to talk about today that I learned being a virgin that made me realize, oh, wait a minute, like I don't have to try so hard. Like, like this can actually happen without me having to like force the agenda and have it be done in a way where they legitimately actually are excited about hooking up with me. And so I felt like I could share that with you guys today, because maybe some of you guys are struggling with like, you go on several dates and you still can't get a good hookup out of it, can't get a makeout session, like nothing. And I just found these 7 things, these observations that I made during my virgin years could prove to be helpful to you in your journey. So let's get into what those are. So the most important thing that I learned, or one of the important things that I learned during my virgin years, is that women want sex too. And so when I was younger, I really believe this cultural narrative that, men, we have testosterone. And so of the 2 sexes, we're the ones that really want sex more. And that women, like, they might want it eventually, but not the same level as guys. And I'm here to tell you that that is a bold-faced lie, because I was telling every woman in my college dorms that I was a virgin, that I was trying to wait until marriage, all this other stuff, thinking that it was going to actually like win me bonus points, because I was like, oh, they'll know that I'm not just dating them for sex, so they're for this and that. And most of those women would not date me. Like, real talk, a surprising number of the women that I told this to would lose interest immediately. And so over time, I started to realize, wait a minute, like, so women absolutely want sex. On top of like some of the women that I would have hooked up with, but I was, or I would have dated, but I wasn't hooking up. They would tell me about guys that they would meet up with, and then they would be telling me the story as if they regretted it. Like, oh, I just feel so bad about myself because I met up with this guy in his dorm, and oh my God, I went down on him, and this is that. And later on, I was just like, wait a minute, like, let me just check. That guy didn't force her to come to the room, and all the guy did was make a request to do some stuff. She could have said no. She could have said, I don't feel like that. She could have like rung the alarm and gone to like the desk, the front desk, and said, hey, this guy in room so-and-so tried to do that. And no, instead, these women were willing participants because, again, didn't know that, oh, women had hormones too. And women, like I found, especially later on, like once a woman really, really likes you, oftentimes they'll want it more than you do. But so by being a virgin and trying to delay stuff off, I started to observe that, like, oh, women were actually rejecting me for not wanting to have sex, which must have meant, oh crap, they actually want it too. And so once I, lost my virginity, I realized, oh, okay, I don't have to feel bad as a guy for trying to, as part of wanting to get to know a woman and wanting to date her, actually wanting sex, because that's a legitimate need that not only do I have, but that they also have too. And so I stopped feeling so bad about, like, trying to eventually make moves that led towards the bedroom, because I'm in my head, instead of thinking like, but they don't want this, I could think, oh, I need to make the moves because it lets them know that I want to do some stuff, and then it'll be okay for them to let their guard down and want to do stuff too. So it was a very, very important lesson. The second thing I learned as a virgin that will get you laid is that women will actually initiate hooking up with you. Not necessarily in the way that men will, because they'll hint a lot of stuff, but they will. Because I used to think that in order to get physical intimacy, men just had to always push things forward, that women showed kind of signals or whatever. And the reality is that they will initiate. They will do things that will indicate that they're sexually interested, whether it's bringing up sexual topics, whether it's flirting harder, whether it's outright inviting you to, like, I had quite a few women in my virgin days, like I would go to their house or apartment to visit, would just give me a tour of the house. And then they would, as part of that, like take me to their bedroom, have me sit down on their bed. We sit there and talk for a little while. And I'd be thinking like, why are we in this bedroom? There's a couch out there. Again, they were trying to initiate as best as they know how, and I just wasn't reading it. But that taught me, okay, so fast forward to now I'm not a virgin anymore. It's like, okay, I need to be looking out for what Doc Love would call indicators of interest, meaning they're going to say a thing or do a thing that is their way of trying to initiate, you know? And it might not always be as blatant as guys would do it, but they have their way of doing that, which meant, again, that if I just knew what those things were, I could get out of my head of wondering, does she want to do stuff, and be able to say like, oh, this is her version of initiating. Okay, great. I know what to do. And I got a lot of those signals that, again, once I lost my virginity, in hindsight, I look back at like, oh, wait, so when I was in college and this woman did this thing, she was trying to hook up. Or the time I showed up at this woman's door and when she opened it, she was dressed up in lingerie. Oh, that was her trying to initiate. Okay, I didn't get that at the time. I just thought we were friends. And to go from that to like, she's dressing up, I should have caught that. But again, I was still in the headspace of like, I'm telling women that I'm a virgin. Therefore, since they know that, they're not going to try stuff because I logically told them that's not what I'm trying to do. Lo and behold, totally off on that. The third thing, which kind of leads into the third thing I learned as a virgin that will get you laid, is that women will give very, very clear buying signals. So at the time, I didn't know what buying signals were. I didn't understand that when women say or do certain things, it's indicative of them wanting to do stuff. And so buying signals aren't always the clearest thing in the world because, again, a lot of women, because they're not trying to get rejected also, they'll do what's called passive language, whereby they'll say a thing or do a thing or hint at a thing that it's on the surface is meant to be like, if this guy that I'm saying this to rejects it, I can play like I was just trying to be surface level, that I wasn't trying to indicate I wanted to do anything deeper. But if he catches on, then best believe I'm going to reward that guy. And so to that point, I started noticing more clearly that women would do things like they would sit closer to me, or they would start to, they would touch me when they were talking, or maybe they would stare at me a little bit longer than is comfortable for me at the time. And these are all things that were like basically saying, hey, idiot, like, come talk to me. Or if she's like, touch my arm like this, it's like, hey, I want to maybe do stuff if we like go over there. And so, but again, these are things that a lot of guys don't see because from age 15, we get our hormones, and a lot of guys are just impatient, just thinking, I got to try to get laid, try to get laid, try to get laid. And so as a result of being in your head about what you have to do, and you're trying to push the sexual stuff, you're trying to comment all the sexual stuff, you're not giving space to breathe, to see if, wait a minute, maybe if I'm not doing all that stuff, she'll signal that stuff. And so for me, because as I got older, because of my virgin years where I wasn't trying to force a thing, I just always had the thought of like, sex will eventually happen, but it doesn't have to happen right away. And so I'll just, wait until I start seeing things or indicators. And so that's where I would do things like I'd be on a date and I'd have my hand on the table and the woman would be talking and then she'd like, oh, and then by the way, and she touched my hand. Or like, I'll be driving a girl home and I'd drive her to her place and she'd be like, oh, I had such a good night. I wish it didn't have to end. And because I wasn't during the date saying, hey, we should hook up, or hey, let's have sex, or I wasn't trying to touch her all this much, I gave moments and room for that stuff to happen from her end, to where it's like, oh, so if they're giving the signals, I just got to know what the signal is. And I can just walk on in the door and say, hey, let's do whatever. And I don't think enough guys give room for that because they just honestly think it's not going to happen. As a guy that was trying to wait, I very much got to see if I'm the one that's patient, if I'm the one that's not trying to push an agenda, they will very much be like, oh, I want to let him know that I want stuff to happen. So, but you got to build faith in that. I had years of being a virgin to build faith that, oh, women will show me signals. If you've up to this point just been trying to show your own signals, you've never gotten a chance to experience or see the things that I'm talking about. And I can sound like a crazy person. Like, you'd be like, how dare Harry say that I don't need to do anything because they'll show stuff? I've never had that happen. But have you really given a chance for that to happen? Have you done this? Have you gone on a date with the thought process of, I'm not going to try to push any sexual agenda. I'm not going to try to touch her, except for maybe a hug at the beginning. I'm not going to try to do any windows. I'm not going to try to hint to her that I want to sleep with her or take her back to like, have you done any of that? Because I've done that enough to know that when you operate in that mode, by date 2 or 3, they're kind of like pushing the agenda for you, which we'll get to why that happens in a second. But anyway, the fourth thing that I learned is that women do want you to signal desire. So part of the reason I got rejected in my virgin years was because, again, in an attempt to not make women feel uncomfortable, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't giving a lot of compliments. I wasn't trying to touch them. I wasn't trying to lead them back to the bedroom. And what I learned is that even if a woman, like on the first date, isn't down to do that stuff, you showing her those things is still beneficial to her because it makes her know, okay, on some level, he desires. Now, by the way, I'm realizing that may contradict the previous part where I said, like, oh, like you, if you don't show these things, then you know they'll eventually show you that you want. And I'm not ever saying don't ever compliment a woman ever, or don't ever not like give indications of desire for her. I'm saying you ain't got to push it as hard as you think you have to. Like guys are going on dates to be like, you know, hey, so you look really hot and attractive and sexy. You should go back to my place, blah, 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 blah. You ain't got to be that blatant with it. Like you can show levels of like, when I would go on dates and I saw women, they'd be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Oh man, that's such a nice outfit. You look really good in it. And then I'd move on from that to like, where'd you get the outfit from? What made you pick that? Like I'm asking things beyond just, oh, you look attractive in this dress, but I did throw it in there so she'd know, oh, there's a level of desire there. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about don't ever say anything ever. But the point that you're overdoing it to where like every other third comment you're giving is like, oh, you look really hot. Oh, you're so sexy. Oh, you smell good. I could see myself in your, like, that's when it gets like you're doing it to where you're an overburdened doing it. And that's where the issue is. But understand also that there's levels to this because like, let's say me and a girl went on a first date. First date, maybe I'm not throwing any innuendos out. I'm not trying to indicate any kind of sexual whatever. Most women would be like, oh, this is a great time. I didn't feel uncomfortable, but oh my God, he didn't try to do anything sexual. I feel so relieved, but now I kind of want him to see me sexual. And so where I would mess up is, again, I'm still trying to be a virgin. So on dates 2 or dates 3, I go from like, I'm not showing anything to like now I look more like I'm giving off the impression of trying to just be their friend. I'm not giving any compliments. I'm not giving any I'm not doing nothing. And they're probably this because I found usually by date 2, if on date 1, you're not giving a lot of those things, by date 2, they'll start saying stuff for you. They'll start putting out sexual innuendos. They'll start trying to touch you more. And here's what's important. At the point that they start doing that, that's their signal to you that they're comfortable with you now also doing it back. So where I messed up was when I go on second dates and they would show these things, me trying to be a virgin, I still wouldn't show any of those signals back. Or in my head, I'd be like, but I logically told them that I was a virgin. So just because they're doing all these things doesn't mean that they're expecting me to do anything back. And then by the third date, they'd be not want to see me anymore because, again, I wasn't now showing anything back after they had signaled it was okay because they need to feel desire too. So if on date 2 or 3, they're giving innuendos, it's fine to give one back. If you're not, or they're touching you and you're not trying to like hug them back or touch them in appropriate places back, that starts to make them feel either A, maybe you're actually gay, or that you don't actually find them desirable, at which point they're like, but he keeps asking me out. Maybe he's just bored. Like, because women will do that. Women will go out with a guy when they're bored because they want a free meal and want to feel attractive. So they start thinking, is he doing the same thing? Is he not really attracted to me? You know what? I'm suddenly not feeling the same vibe we had, and it's not building. Like the first date, if nothing like that happened, totally fine. But he's not even trying to build on that vibe. And now I don't feel like he really finds me attractive. And so I'm losing feelings. So I learned that as a virgin because I lost a lot of women on the second and third date simply because I wasn't trying to escalate. So I learned once I got past that, okay, if on the second date, these things are happening, it means that she's totally fine with things going a certain way. But more importantly, she wants to feel the desire from me in the same way that she's trying to show desire to me. And that's totally fine. All right. The fifth thing that I learned as a virgin that will get you laid is there is a window of opportunity for most women. Now, I will caveat this by saying the women that are highly, highly attracted, like in the 90% plus or whatever like that, they're totally fine. If you do nothing, they'll still be attracted. And to the guys that are also like, because there's nothing wrong with legitimately trying to wait until you're married to do stuff. But that does not mean that you still can't show other ways of desirability towards that person. And so I found that, again, my issue was that I wasn't doing things in a way that built on desire or escalation. And so as a result of that, I found that there's a window of opportunity that women will give you before they're just like, I don't know what this guy is doing, whatever. So I typically found the maximum time is date 3. Like first date, you're not talking anything overtly sexual. You're not trying to do whatever. Women will be like, he's trying to make me feel comfortable. It's a first date. I totally get it. Second date, most women are expecting you to kiss them. If you don't, if they're escalating sexual innuendo and touches and you're not doing it back, they might think, okay, he's not attracted. Something's up here. What's going on? But I find most women will still try to give you up to that third date, because a lot of things in the universe work in threes, right? But by the third date, if you're not initiating a kiss, if you're not doing something that indicates, hey, let's go back to my place and at least, have a makeout session or have like a petting session or whatever, then that's when I found typically they really start to fall off. And I found this out a lot during my dating years as a virgin, where date 1 and 2, I can make dates happen. But by date 3, if I wasn't, trying to at the very least cuddle up on the couch or something, that usually was like the end for them. So you got to move. It's funny, when they don't know you early on, they're more prone to letting you do things and escalate things a lot quicker. The longer you spend time with them, it starts getting to like, I've gone on 3 or 4 dates with this guy and he's not really escalating like physicalities or sexual anything. Maybe he just wants a friendship, at which point they start feeling like it's a friendship. So you guys that are like, we went on a couple of dates, now she's saying she wants a friendship. That's probably what's happening, is that you're not being a guy and you're not giving masculine energy that's escalating, that shows them, oh, I want to do sexual stuff. And then it starts to turn them off. Like even a woman that was like really like highly interested, if you're not doing anything to show any kind of escalation at all, then she's not getting the feeling from you like you're like a true masculine guy, and it's making her panties dry, like real talk. So as a virgin, I learned, okay, at the point that I lost my virginity, it's okay to escalate sooner. Worst case scenario, they'll say, hey, let's slow it down, but that's better direction than not doing anything. And a woman doesn't want to have to try to instruct you on what level of escalation is okay, because she doesn't know the roadmap for that until you start doing stuff. And she can say, okay, so we made out and you touched me here, or there, but right now, going all the way, not quite there, but we're good here. But you're doing nothing. The window's short, my guy. You got 2 or 3 dates to make it happen and not even going all, again, if you're trying to be a virgin until you're married, totally fine. You not kissing her, you not like cuddling up with her or nothing, like you're going to lose out on a lot of women after that second or third date. The 5th lesson that I learned as a virgin that will get you laid is you don't have to convince someone who already wants you to hook up. As guys, I think we get taught that we have to almost like trick women or cajole them into like, surprise, we're in bed together. And I just found that's not really the case. Like, again, in my virgin years, because I wasn't trying to sleep with a lot of women, I found that by not making those moves, the women that really, really wanted me were trying to do things to get me to do that, whether it was dressing up in lingerie, whether it was taking me back to their bedrooms, or it was like trying to say a bunch of sexual stuff, or trying to like constantly hit me up to spend time with them. Like, women that want you, they will help you to the ends of the earth, which is why I don't like it when guys are like, well, she showed me mixed signals, or she said, maybe we'll go on a date. I learned from my uncle early on in sales that maybe means no. Most women, if they say maybe, or I'll think about it, or I might, it equals to either no, or I don't have a high enough interest to say yes unless I have absolutely nothing else going on. And you don't want to date those women, because you want to date somebody that's going to be gung-ho about you, to where they're not giving you constant rejections. And so as a virgin, because I was in a space where I was not trying to convince any particular woman to sleep with me, I found that, again, even if you're not trying to convince them, you don't have to if they already want you. And so this is why, again, you leave space for women to show you these things, because if you've never seen it before, it's amazing. Like, you thought you as a guy had to pull all this game out of your hat in order to try to get women to see you as a viable candidate. And I'm telling you that when they want you, they will be doing all the things necessary to show you, hey, guy, it's time for you to come over here and do some stuff with me. So you have to kind of like break out of this understanding that, like, it's not to say you as a guy shouldn't be doing anything. Like, you asking women on dates, you giving the occasional compliment, and then responding back to what she's doing in terms of like the escalation. Like, again, after that first date, you haven't tried to hook up with her, she will start saying and doing things that indicate that she wants to take it there. All you got to do is respond to that with your own level of like sexual innuendos, your own levels of touches and things. You're holding hands, you're kissing her, all this other stuff. And then inevitably it'll be like, hey, you want to come up for coffee? Or, hey, I got a little time today if you want to stop by. Or, hey, why don't you come to my place and I'll cook you dinner, which is all code for I want to sleep with you. But again, you won't have to convince her to do that if you're levels of patient, but also not trying to rush the process, and also understanding what the process of attraction looks like for her. And I learned all that because I waited so long that as I got into my later dating years, I would just find that I would tell women I was dating, hey, sometimes women would bring up like, hey, just so you know, we're not going to sleep with each other on the first or second date. And my answer was always like, I was a virgin until 23. I can outwait you. And they'd be surprised that like I really meant it. Like some women, you wait 2 or 3 weeks. Some women you wait 2 or 3 months. But the point is like, I was like, no, like you think you're in control of this, but I'm telling you, like we're going at my speed. But my speed was really their speed, but just not putting pressure on them to have to make that decision anytime soon. And as a result of that, you get rewarded. Which leads me to the final point that I learned from all this, from all my years as the virgin, is that the less that you push the agenda, the sexual agenda, the faster they're going to want it. I have coached so many men who've struggled with, I've been dating a girl for 3 or 4 months. We still haven't hooked up. I don't understand what's going on. And my question is always like, so, well, then how's that happening? At which point they'll tell me, well, I try to do this thing here, or take it to my bedroom, or try to suggest this and that, or whatever, try to get a hotel for us, try to plan a weekend trip. And she just wouldn't do anything. And my thought's always like, dude, like all those things feel like you're rushing into it and that you're trying to set up scenarios that force her to have to say yes to sex. At the point that she feels it's no longer her choice, best believe she's going to make it her choice by saying, we're not doing that. And so from my years and years of not getting anybody and not hooking up, what I found very important was the understanding that she needs to feel comfortable with you first before wanting to do a lot of stuff. Like even the people that say like, well, I saw a girl that she hooked up with the guy on the first night. Okay, well, that guy knew how to do all the things to make her feel comfortable on that first date. Like on the date, probably wasn't talking about sex a lot, was probably just being his vibrant self and asking her questions about herself and making her laugh. And at some point, maybe she touched him on the shoulder, then he was able to touch her back. And then maybe he gave her a passionate kiss, but at no time was he saying, hey, let's go back to my place. Hey, let's do things right now. Hey, I paid for this meal, so what's going to happen to me? And I've seen those videos online of women like go on dates and they'll be recording themselves where it's like, you'll see on the caption, like, this guy just can't stop talking about trying to get me back to his place. And it's like, all this conversation is about, well, I just took you out for a free meal, so you should want to do me and this and that. And I found that at the point that I was comfortable enough to be in the bedroom, that like, it was just so easy. It was just so easy to get to that step. And it was simply not me pushing the agenda. Like it was just me saying, okay, my thought was always, all I'm trying to do is take a woman out to show her the best time on a date possible. If that happens to include things beyond just dinner, fantastic. If it just includes dinner, also fantastic. I'm just here to get to know this person in whatever capacity they feel comfortable. And because my goal was to make them comfortable, I was not trying to rush things. Now, again, if part of their comfort meant they wanted to start throwing sexual innuendos and it felt comfortable to do that for them based on them showing it first, then I'd be totally fine doing that also. But it was never me that was trying to like initially push the whole sexual thing. It was, again, my focus was on showing them a good time. It was taking them on this one great date, focusing on one date at a time. If at the end of the date, it just so happened that I made them feel good enough to where they wanted to do stuff, fantastic. But if not, I'd be like, hey, I literally would have girls tell me like, just, after this date, and I'd be like, hey, I can outweight you. Like you lost your virginity when? 15, 16, I was 23. I can wait. So if it takes us 2 weeks or 2 months, it is what it is. And I found, interestingly enough, by giving that speech, that most women would have to do a double thought about like, wait, do I want to wait that long? How dare he make me wait that long? And it's like, yeah, like it's kind of silly that we're making each other wait, right? So you ain't got to rush me. I ain't got to rush you. If it feels right for the time to do that, then it is what it is. But like, and I was never the guy that was like, thinking she's going to make me wait 5 or 10 dates or whatever. If it takes 5 or 10 dates to hook up with this chick, it's just more time for me to vet her. That's also fine. Like I just never took any of that stuff personally. And as a result, I got great results. So these are the 7 things that I learned as a virgin that will get you laid a lot faster. 1, women definitely want sex too, that they will initiate, but you have to be patient to wait for it. That women will give very, very clear buying signals when they're ready for you to escalate things to the bedroom. That women do actually want you to signal desire on some level. You just have to do it at their pace, but they do want to feel like you do desire them. I learned there's a window of opportunity. So again, you guys that are trying to be the texty guys, like I'm going to build rapport with her for 2 months before we do anything. That's why you're losing out, because you're waiting too long to do that. Number 6, you don't have to convince someone who already wants you to hook up. And also, the less that you're pushing the agenda, I promise you, the less you're trying to push the sexual agenda, the faster they're going to want to hook up with you. If you take these things to heart and start reconfiguring the way in which you operate with regards to trying to get women in the bedroom, but by not really trying all that hard, you will find that ultimately you'll get the results you want because it's what they also want too, you know? And if you need lessons and help in trying to figure out how to be more patient and how to not be so apprehensive or nervous in your head about like, she's not going to do anything, you can go to stoplosingwomen.com, sign up for one-on-one coaching, and I will happily walk you through how to do that. But hopefully the tips that I gave you here today will be immensely helpful to you as you go forth. So that's all I got in terms of my portion of this show. I will now answer any questions that have been left in the chat. And if you have a question, just leave it in here. I'll be happy to answer it for you. So this person asked a question, and this guy says, how much is too much or too short when making plans by text? I was called for being too short. I'm guessing she wanted to chit chat some. I don't want to chit chat a lot, but also don't want to be too robotic. Okay, so this is one of those things where this is a great example of women don't actually know what they need in order to be attracted to you. Women will go online all day and say things like, well, in order for me to like a guy, I need him to have X, Y, and Z, a six-pack and money and this and that. And also I've heard women say, well, if this guy isn't texting me between dates, and if he isn't regularly sending me good morning texts, then I'm not going to talk to him. And a lot of times women are confusing the behavior they want from a boyfriend from what works on them during the attraction phase dating process of getting to know somebody. And those two phases are very, very different. All right. So women will say things like, I wish you would text me more. What they're not understanding is that her desire to want to hear from you more is actually going to make her more attracted to you than if you actually text her more. It's the whole thing of like, you know, like the wanting of something. It's kind of like the journey is more satisfying than completing the mission. And so you have to take what women are saying to you with a grain of salt. So with regards to texting, right? For one, as I said before, it should be 3-to-1. So for every 3 texts she initiates, you initiate 1 text. So this doesn't mean, by the way, that you don't ever respond to her. I'm saying initiation. So for example, today is Monday. So today we both wake up. She initiates a text. Tomorrow's Tuesday. She initiates a text first. Wednesday, you might initiate the first text of the day. And then Thursday, she'll initiate a text. But I found that like the numbers of that typically work better in your favor if you have her initiating more text. Now, after she initiates that text, obviously you're going to respond back to her. From then, it should be a back and forth. You shouldn't be double texting. Your paragraphs shouldn't be longer than like 4 or 5 lines on the phone, because any more than that, it starts to look like you're trying to vie for her attention and affection, and we don't want that happening. But suffice to say, in terms of texting, like I said, texting is meant to be used as a tool. You use texting primarily to plan dates. So if you're reaching out to her, hey babe, was wanting to see if you wanted to go out this week. I'm free on Thursday or Tuesday. Let me know what day works best for you. She'll respond back, oh, it's so great to hear from you. Let's go out on this date. You say, great. I can't wait to see your beautiful face again. I was thinking maybe we could do this restaurant. Let me know if either one of these like is whatever. So there's ways of flirting with her while you're in the process of being able to plan a date that will make it feel less robotic. And hey, I'm guilty of this too. I will send texts like, found this restaurant, let's go at 7. And again, to be fair, a woman that's highly interested, she's just happy to get the date. But if she is saying that she doesn't want you to sound so robotic, it basically just means, understand, when women text each other, they're typically adding a lot more language to each other, and they might add more genteel words, whereas guys can be very direct, and it can come off as mechanical, robotic, and more importantly, unfeeling. If this is a woman that you care about, then ideally you'll throw in a few words here or there, like, hey, sweetie, or hey, what's up? If you're at that stage. If you just started dating, don't throw in nicknames. But if you're at the stage, if it's been like 1 or 2 months you've been dating her, it's fine to be like, hey, sweet thing, wanted to take your pretty face out this week. I'm free on Tuesday or Thursday. What works best for you? Okay, great. I was thinking of this restaurant. What works great for you? Great. Make sure to wear that cute little dress that I like seeing you in. Like, you can add things in like that where there'll be more emotion to it. And this isn't to say do a complete overhaul of your texting. Again, you're ultimately using texting to try to get a date and to plan a date, but adding in a few words here and there like that, it'll make it feel less robotic. And then when you do that, you'll find you still don't have to text all that much. Like, texting to plan a date and adding in a few little things here and there that lets you know you're flirting with her, that'll be enough of her feeling like you're not being a robot versus just like, let's go on date. How about Tuesday? That works. Talk soon. Like, I can see how that could come across as robotic. Adding in a few little flirt words here or there will make it less that. And again, don't think this means you got to text her more or call her more. All that build a rapport on the phone stuff, save as much as you can for the date. Again, the fact that she's saying that, you're too short, she wants to chit chat more, that's good. That's indicative of her saying, I desire you more. I want to hear from you and see you more. That's a good sign. She's about 1 or 2 days away from being like, hey, I know we normally see each other once a week, but I'd like to see you Saturday also. Like that, again, let her be the one to initiate the idea of seeing each other more and texting more, because again, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. If she's the one initiating conversations about, well, I want to hear from you more and I want to see you more, it's far better for that to come from her side than to hear things like, I'm just too busy to date, and you just text me so much, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's better for you to you should always be going a little bit slower than the woman is with regards to communication and with regards to talking about feelings and getting into a relationship. So what you're actually doing right now is perfect. But do what I said with regards to adding some extra flirty words during the text, and you should be totally fine. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. We got another question in the chat. Love it. Love it. And so I'm saying this is like half a text. I see it says one half a text. So I guess this is another part coming through at some point. But this question, so I got a question in the chat, and the question goes, hey, Harry, can you tell if a woman is mirroring your text style or pulling away? Full context, I don't like texting, but she always wants to continue and said this supports her. However, I noticed that she replies a little later than usual, which is my texting style. So I will say this. Some women, let's say initially she wants to text you a whole lot, but you're not responding back a whole lot. Women will do this thing where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to show him, I'm going to text him back at the rate that he texts me back. So if he takes 6 hours to respond, I'm going to also take 6 hours to respond. And that's just a woman being butt hurting her feelings about it, because she's like, how dare he didn't text. Now, to be fair, I will say this. When a woman is initiating a text, that is a positive sign, and it is indicative of, ideally, she wants to hear from you like in that moment. I'm not a person that thinks you got to respond right away. But if you have the time to, my typical thing is, if you're trying to combat the idea of like, you're always readily available, make it like 15 minutes for that first text. Like if she texts you initially, hey, so-and-so, what's going on with your day? How things going? Wait 15 minutes before you say, hey, just saw your text. What's up? At which point it's perfectly fine in that moment to have a little bit of chit chat. Because again, my thing is, you don't want to initiate a text that's going to result in just nonchalant texting. If she's the one initiating it, it's fine to have a little bit of banter. My thing is just lead that banter towards something where you're going to say, hey, speaking of such and such, I think we should meet up. So for example, she sends you a text, you wait 15 minutes. Oh, hey, she asks you, how's your day going, this, that, you text her back. Oh, hey, just saw your text. My day is going absolutely great. Gorgeous. How about your day? She responds back, because it's always good to ask a question back. She responds like, oh, I'm doing good. Just thinking about you. I'm at work today. It's been so busy, this, and that. You can respond back. I get you. Work's been over here's been busy too. I've been, toiling with X, Y, and Z all day. But hey, speaking of that, after work, I was thinking, if you weren't busy tonight, or maybe, later this week, I was thinking we could go to this great restaurant. So now what are you doing? You're taking a hold of the conversation and you're leading it into, let's plan the next date. Because only reason women's texting you is because she wants the feeling that you actually want to hear from her. You want to see her. You desire her being in your presence. And what better way to do that than to turn her initiated text into, by the way, babe, I'm busy the rest of the day, but I'd love to see you again. I'm free tomorrow and the day after. Let me know what works for you. Like, all they're trying to do is reach out to see if you want to see them more. So it's perfectly fine to let them know that back. But that starts with, like, again, understanding that when she initiates a text, it means she's wanting to hear from you. This is where you don't have to play the game of like, well, she texts me, well, I'm going to make her wait 4 hours. Like, the goal is that you can make her wait a little bit, but you still want to respond at a respectful amount of time. Because again, you don't want this thing to happen where it's like, if every time she initiates a text, you're texting back 5 hours later, she's going to start to feel like he's just always putting everybody else before me. And you're not quite trying to give off that impression. So waiting 15 to 20 minutes for you to respond to that first text and then doing a little bit of banter back and forth. Again, you're not double texting. You're not sending these long, drawn out paragraphs. You're sending a little short text and that are responding basically back to her questions or what she's saying. And then you ended after maybe after 4 or 5 texts, you say, hey, this has been great, but you know what? I'd love to actually see your pretty face in person. Why don't we plan a date for tomorrow or 2 days from now? Let me know what works best. That's how I found you can make her feel respected, and she won't play this game of I'm going to text him back 6, because she doesn't want to do that. She really doesn't want to respond back 6 or 7 hours later. But if that's all you've been doing, then she's going to grab on to your leadership, which is, so when I text him, he's waiting 6 hours. So that must be what he wants. So I'm going to do that same pacing. And that's not what we want to do. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, guys. So if there's no more questions in the chat, then I will say that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for checking out this live stream. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends. And if you need more help with regards to your dating life and journey, you can go to stoplosingwomen.com and sign up for a one-on-one coaching session, as well as checking out my Get Girls Academy and checking out my various ebooks that are all designed to help you be a better dater and more informed about women and yourself. Honestly, you want to know yourself better to know how to really put yourself out there a lot better. I'm going to start doing, now that I've got my setup, I got my nice little backdrop here. I've got my camera that's constantly set here and ready to go. So my goal is to do a minimum of 3 lives a week. Right now I'm testing out the 12 o'clock time slot. I will also be next week probably testing out the 6 o'clock p.m. time slot, which is 9 o'clock East Coast. But I'm going to test out a couple of times to see where I get the most traction. So just be on the lookout for more of these lives coming. And hopefully this helps you guys out. That's all I got. I'm Harry Wilmington. I will catch you guys on the next live, which most likely will be on Wednesday. I'm out. Peace.